Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Playful Humans podcast. I'm your host, Mike Montague, and my guest this week is Sarah Iverson. She's right there. She is a wellness coach and speaker. She's author of Black in Color Remix, and you can find her at CuriousSunshine.com. We're going to talk about curiosity, mindfulness, and playful liberation. I can't wait. All things fun with Sarah Iverson. And if you are looking for more play in your life, you want to rediscover the power of play as an adult, go to playfulhumans.com. Lots of good stuff there. A new burnout quiz. You can check out our sponsors. Get the free concert tickets. Check out the sponsors. Here we go. Don't wait for tomorrow. All right, Sarah, welcome to the podcast. The podcast this week is brought to you by Snoop Dogg's new umbrella. Have you seen this yet?
I have not.
Specifically designed for drizzle. All right, there you go. The joke of the week is, what do you call a can opener that doesn't work?
Ooh. What?
That's a can't opener.
Oh.
All right. We got one there. Now, I'm interested, or should I say curious, about your work in curiosity, because I'm guessing your answer is going to be similar to what mine would be about play, but I find curiosity kind of to be something that people have or they don't. Do you feel like this is something that people can develop?
So curiosity is something that we all inherently have. And so, doing some research and digging into what exactly is curiosity, it's something that, we mostly see in children, babies, they're always exploring and figuring out, like, what happens if I do this? What happens if this, if this does this? And then as we get older, we kind of lose that curiosity, because then we kind of move into this more assumption kind of state of mind where it's like, I know how this works, and so X, Y, and Z. And so that's where we kind of start losing that novel exploration, because we just move forward with stuff that we know already. And so, I feel like curiosity is something that we still have, but it's more or less granting ourselves time to figure out what makes us curious, because as we get older and as we develop new interests, we get curious about different things, and there's different topics or experiences or feelings that we just get curious about and wonder. And that's where I like to call, like, the whole wormhole thing, how we just dive into a topic, and then before we know it, like, hours have gone by, and it's like, oh my God, I sat and read this article, and then I read another article and another article. And that's part of curiosity. And I think once we, I guess, be more intentional with it, then we could start kind of honing in on that and exercising it like a muscle. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And it is very similar to the way I think about playfulness, that we have this innate ability as a child, and we kind of need playfulness and curiosity in order to survive and to learn and grow up. But once we kind of get to maybe out of college and stuff and start getting into our routines as adults, we don't necessarily need those skills to keep going. If you find some sort of comfort zone or level, we can kind of start leveling off and not continuing to grow. I've always considered myself like a lifelong learner, and curiosity about learning, but I feel like sometimes in other areas I've lost my curiosity, and I'm wondering kind of why you think that is, or do you think there is like an age marker there where I used to really just enjoy talking to anybody, like going on first dates, meeting new people, talking to people, behind the counter at the gas station or restaurant, wherever I am, and just really curious about people and how they tick. And I feel like I've lost some of that, but I've also interviewed like 700 people on 2 different podcasts for a living. What would you say is part of it, maybe as growing up as an adult, that causes us challenges or opportunities?
Well, I feel like the answer for that's probably going to be a similar answer that we would have for play. Curiosity and play kind of go in tandem. But I think it's just like not granting ourselves the opportunity to tap into it. It's like once we get older, then it's like, oh, we have bills and, we have to like get a car payments, and then get a job. We have to worry about job, a family, like all the like society, regular adult stuff. And I feel like society creates this like narrative that we have to always be productive. If we're not working, then we need to work on other stuff. And it kind of blocks us from saying, wait a minute, free will is a thing, first of all. And so, I think it's also conducive to allow my brain to kind of expand and kind of play in its own space versus always being so focused on handling these adulty things. Because let's be real, a lot of the times we've just been worrying about things and not actually doing anything about it. And so if we replace that time doing something, I think being playful and curious is conducive. And so if we allow ourselves to do that, then I think it's really beneficial because, it opens up like possibilities and potentialities that we would never grant ourselves the space to even come up with. We don't grant ourselves the time or the honoring of our imagination and how expansive and how limitless it is. And so being open to saying, you know what, let me just daydream for a little bit, frolic in my head, and play a little bit in my imagination. Maybe these things that are stressing me out in the adult world, I maybe find a solution or find they're not so stressful. So yeah, it's weird because it's like, it doesn't make sense to be curious and grant ourselves space to be curious and playful, but it's also like probably the one thing that we all need to do more.
I agree with all of that, and I'll just second it. But I wanted to talk to you about mindfulness. So I'm glad that you brought that in there, because sometimes I see mindfulness as the neutral space, and we do need to create space or bring ourselves back to center. And I think you mentioned curiosity and going deep on a topic, like into that black hole or even the wormhole where you lose time and stuff. That can happen with play or work or whenever you're really active and engaged. But sometimes we need to just rest and like bring it back to center, whether we had a really great time, like on a podcast, or when I host a game show. When I'm done after like 90 minutes, it's like, okay, I just need to like take a deep breath, bring it back in, and be like, and appreciate how much fun that was, but realize that it's ephemeral. It's always changing. I can't just stay in that heightened activity space for 24 hours. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is, how do you see mindfulness and curiosity and playfulness working together in concert to help us be our best?
Well, yeah, that's for mindfulness. I will say that you don't know where to go, or you don't know where your liberation and play resides unless you know where you're presently at. And so it's more like what you're saying, after you're done doing all your podcasts, you need to like bring it in and kind of ground yourself. And that's where you could find that gratitude and like check in with your energy and your body and, feel how that feels. And so when I teach the Curious Sunshine method, I always start with mindfulness, because that's where we find the awareness and the presence of what feels true. So how does it feel in our body when we feel happy versus when we feel sad, when something resonates with our spirit versus when something's maybe not supporting our highest good? And the only way we could do that is by sitting and resting and kind of checking in with ourselves, and also tracking ourselves, tracking our habits, tracking our emotions, and figuring out what feels good, and it could be something as simple as through mindfulness. Personally speaking, through mindfulness, I realized that it's easy for me to do more technical things in the morning and do more creative things at night. And that was from me tuning into myself and being mindful through meditation and through mindful techniques. And so once we're mindful and kind of know where we're at, then we can start breaking down those barriers of like, okay, well, it actually feels good when I do this thing that I was told I can never do, or that's not I'm an adult, I'm supposed to do this thing, but actually this other thing makes me feel good. And so breaking down those barriers that we place on ourselves and kind of saying, okay, well, what happens if I pursue this thing that makes my spirit feel good? What if I take up this hobby and get curious about the things that really resonate within my soul and follow that and kind of see where that goes? And then, that's where we kind of shake up our paradigm, because we're realizing that this life that we're supposed to, live as serious adults isn't true to any of us. Everyone has a unique passion, has a unique, thing that makes them special in who they are, and is supposed to be conducive to the betterment of themselves in society. And so once we shake up our paradigm and know that the world could be much more diverse, much more colorful, much more playful, then we can kind of start looking back in our past, because as children, we find that those passions and those little things that we like to do are still very much there. And how do we bring it now into its evolved state in our adult world? And how can we actually improve or tap back in and share these skills with the world? Because we loved them for a reason, right?
Yeah.
One person
loves. I 100%
dressing up.
agree.
Yes. And so that's where the curiosity part sets in. We allow ourselves to be curious about why do we do the things we do? How do we, do things that create more joy, more playfulness? And how do we now celebrate who we are in our unique nature and the things that have always made us us? And then we actively explore what that feels like and what that is, and embodying that through play. And so once we discover, these authentic traits and these gold nuggets of who we are, then it's like, okay, what does that mean now? Do you join a community? Do you go and invest in a hobby that supports that? Do you just read about it? Lean into it, play with it. Even if it's just 5 minutes a day, I think those small steps really give us that liberation that we all seek, because I feel like, the majority of adults are in the situation where, maybe we're not fully happy in all facets of our lives. And
burnout or unbalanced. Yeah.
Yes. And so this is a fun way to seek wellness and balance, because healing doesn't always have to be this heavy. There's no laughter. We have to purge. It's yes, that is also important, but balance, right? So the other side of that is, how do we heal and find wellness and make more holistic choices with playful intentions?
Yeah, one thing I'd add to plus one that, because I think everything you really laid out, how to get yourself from, a bad state to a better state here and being more playful and curious. But one thing I'd say is I always kind of hesitate on the word balance, because I think people think that means everything is level and still and perfectly balanced. And that's not ever true. That life would be boring. You'd have to be okay, nobody move, kids, you can't grow up or anything. You're fighting a losing battle if you're trying to keep everything balanced. But what we mean by balance is moving back and forth between all of these states equally, or in as many times as we can throughout a day, so that maybe we're resting and we're mindful, then we're active, and then we come back and we're playful, or we eat and refuel ourselves, and then we come back and we do something maybe that's mentally intense and exerting. And I like what you said, those rules can be different for everybody. I like, and I feel better when I work out in the morning rather than at night. I don't seem to have energy. And same thing for me with creative writing and mental tasks. I kind of run out of the mental bandwidth and willpower the later in the day. But connecting with other humans or resting seems to come easier for me. And there's no rules here. We keep following rules that other people made up for themselves, like 3 meals a day, or sleeping at certain times or hours, or working at certain times and hours. And so I want to know, for you specifically, what sort of things came up like that for you? Have you found any hacks for yourself about what works or what doesn't that you could share?
Yeah, I think that Yeah, and with things like that, I try and find those kind of nuances with everything I do. But like you were saying, yeah, I realize that I have certain flows. Like I do love, I can get all my emails, I'll figure it out in the morning. If there's something more mentally intensive, or like, have to fill out a form or apply for some kind of,
Yeah.
whatever, in the
Do your
morning's the
taxes or
best.
something. Yeah.
Yes, morning time, because that's when my brain's most alert. I have all the energy, versus at night, that's when I'll probably paint or draw, because um all my mental space, like all the logical thinking stuff, has already been exhausted in the morning. And then at night, I kind of am like, okay, now I can let my imagination flow, because my logical brain kind of is exhausted. Or I've also noticed, and it was so funny because you know how kids, you pick them up from school, or they've just gotten done doing something where they have to like sit still, and so then as soon as they're out, they're like wiggle
Bonkers.
city.
Yeah.
Yeah. Adults still do that, and I can attest to that, because I know that as soon as I'm done filing taxes or sitting in a meeting or doing something where I have to compose myself and be, and behave, right? As soon as I'm out of that, I find I have all this energy. So I'll allow myself to dance around, or like go on a walk, or do something where it's like high activity, because I have those wiggles, because I was sitting there trying to be a good human. And so,
Yeah.
and so
That's
it's little
great.
things like that, like acknowledging that we still have that. And sometimes if we don't allow ourselves to kind of get out of that, it's like, oh, now I'm in like a grumpy mood and I don't know why. It's because you probably need to like do some jumping jacks or something, or you need to like do something conducive with that energy. And so being aware of how we use our energy, and how I use my energy, is a nice game that I like to play. Tracking is also a game in itself. So what does Sarah want during these certain times of the day, or when I'm sad or when I'm happy? What do I need, or what can I do to kind of move that energy around? Yeah.
And I think that takes us to the Black and Color remix. So you have activities and stuff in there. Tell us about that and how it came to be.
Yeah, I would love to. So, along with Curious Sunshine, I also am a graphic designer and artist. So I had the skills to compose the book and also create the coloring pages inside, which is, really great. And I'm happy to be able to just put my whole spirit into this. But I got the idea because I realized that Curious Sunshine is a very unique business. And so it's always a mouthful to explain, oh yeah, Curious Sunshine's mindfulness, curiosity, and play. And then people are like, tell me more. And then it's like, I'll tell them more, but it's like, there needs to be more work. There needs to be something more than just me telling them and then them just walking away with it and retaining it maybe for a little bit. And so outside of classes, I was thinking that creating a book or materials for people to use to kind of get the essence of what Curious Sunshine is in a tangible form would be a good idea. And so, I was looking for inspiration and kind of scrolling and going to bookstores and seeing what was out there. And I realized that there really isn't much activity books out there that isn't just like only coloring, only, puzzles. I was like, what if I want to color one day and then the next day I want to do Sudoku or do a word search? And what if one day I just need to read something or try something small and palatable? And so for me, I was like, I can't be the only one. So I was like, okay, well, it's not there, then make it. And so I just sat and was thinking about all of Curious Sunshine's values and how to create a nice experience for people to not only dig into themselves and kind of discover themselves in a fun way, but also take a break from your phone. Like scrolling's exhausting and that light is not good for your eyes. Like social media is not good for your brain, but it's like we're so trained for that. It's like, what do we do if we don't have our phone? And so and so I created the book. Oh,
That's a great answer for the book of what really, I mean, I think that should just be your sales tagline there. What to do when you don't have your phone or don't want to look at it. I think that's perfect.
Yes. So, I mean, I sat and I was thinking about what content to put in there because I want it to be unlike anything else. And one thing I noticed was that there is not a lot of play for the Black community. And so I said, well, as someone who's part of the community, I think I could do that. Like it's in my wheelhouse. I have the skills and I have the, the education and the experience to kind of put this together. Because someone has to make it. So I have no problem doing that. And so I created the puzzles that evolve around, Black culture, Black experience, history, prolific African-American people in history. And then the pages feature community, right? And so people, the Black community can get this book and resonate with it. And then not only that, but these topics also are so relatable to communities of color as a whole and can be a learning tool for everyone outside of that community. And I've gotten a lot of people who aren't really reflected in the book, and they ask like, oh, can I still get it? Like, is it for me? Yes, plays for everyone.
Of course, yeah.
And so, the bonus part about Black and Color Remix is that it's fun and it's also a learning tool. And so it's great. And it's a great tool for everyone in different scopes and different facets. But I really just love being able to provide something for someone and know that it's doing good. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's cool that you combined all of these things together, because I think sometimes that's where the magic happens. That if you just made an activity book and did the different types of games, that might still be cool. Or if you had just done a Black history book or whatever you wanted to highlight, that can be great too. But when you bring the two things together, now we have something that's Sarah Iverson in a package. It's unique to you. Nobody else in the world would have done this. And that makes it really special. I think that's cool. And I love what you said about opening it up to other people too. It just reminded me, I saw a Black comedian the other day, and he was talking about showers in hotel rooms. And this is one of my biggest pet peeves, but I'm a tall guy. So when the shower heads like come up to my chest, I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, I don't know how I can wash my head. And he was saying the exact opposite, that as a Black person, he hates the rain showers that are up on the ceiling because he wants to choose how much water goes on his hair and stuff and wants to be able to wash his body without washing his hair. And I thought, wow, that's an amazing perspective shift for me, that both of us are right. Like, I don't want to do a back bend to try and rinse off my head while I'm shaving in the shower. And he doesn't want to have to do a back bend to try and keep his hair out of the shower. And it just it was a funny little kind of moment that I was like, it's just connecting with somebody else's experience. And I think if you can do that in fun ways with games and puzzles and other things, like, wow, amazing. Like what else, better is there really?
All right. Yes. Agreed.
Yeah. So I didn't give you a question there either. I figured you would be on board with that one. But I'm thinking about incorporating puzzles and games into my book. And I'm wondering how you come up with those sort of things, because I think people struggle with that. Outside of myself, is I love game frameworks because you can kind of change the Family Feud question every time. And the game mechanic is still the same, but the content is what keeps it fresh and unique for me. Did you struggle, or did you find it easy to find these different game activities and to write unique questions for your book?
Ooh, so I'm a little bit of a nerd when it comes to puzzles. And so that was one of those things, because as I'm creating these tools for people to play, I realize new things about myself every time I create content for people, because I'm like, I'm doing this thing again. I must really enjoy it. And so I'm creating these puzzles, and I'm really enjoying the challenge of it. because it's one thing to solve a puzzle, but it's another thing to create a puzzle for people to solve. And so yeah, it's a challenge for me, and I think that's why I like doing it, because it's like, okay, here's the answer. How do we now get people to the answer in the hardest way possible? And
Ooh.
how do we get people to, you have to think outside of the box that you're asking people to think outside of, like outside of the box. And then you have to be like outside of that box to then bring people. I hope that makes sense, but
yeah,
I do. I mean, I've always been a fan of puzzles. Yeah, my dad he loves puzzles. So when I would hang out with him, he'd always be doing a word search or something. And so I've always been into puzzles ever since I was a kid. And so the idea of the amount of puzzles that are out there, I'm like, no, I got it. Anagrams, we have like scrambles, word search, crosswords, like the rebus ones where you have like the pictures, and then you have to figure out what the phrase is that the pictures are like signaling. And so it's all really fun. And so, yeah, I mean, I invite you to try it. Like, it's fun. And I mean, like, word scrambles are easy, right? Because you just mix up the words. I think where it really gets tricky is like creating your own riddles, or creating or creating anything more meta where you're like linking things. So for example, every anniversary for Curious Sunshine, I do a puzzle. I lead people through puzzles, and the first person to answer all the puzzles gets like the prize. And so this year, I try and make it a little intricate every year, but this year I feel like I really made it very like meta. And so like the answer for 1 is a clue for answer 2, which is that, the answer for answer 2 is what you put for like the URL to get the third puzzle. And then there's a clue from puzzle 1 to help you solve puzzle 3. And so I really just get to sit and hyperfixate on like, how can I do this? So it's my form of play, I guess, to do that.
I think I need your help doing that with my stuff. Then I enjoy puzzles, but I find that kind of linking tough for me. Have you seen Neil Patrick Harris's Box One game?
No. What? Oh, wait. I think I've heard of it though. Remind me, please.
Get that for Christmas. I got it.
Okay, I'm gonna write it down. What is it called?
In the Box One, and it was invented by Neil Patrick Harris. He made all of the games during pandemic, and he did a similar thing where it's like an escape room in a box, and so you have to solve all of these puzzles to get through to the end, and you just do it by yourself. It's not a team game or anything, but super cool. You'll love that and enjoy it, and you'll have to let me know how it goes. But I think I'm just gonna have to connect with you afterwards to get help doing this
absolutely
for the stuff that I want to do, because it sounds super cool. But that leads me to my last question for you. Is there anything on your fun bucket list, or what would be the most fun for you? Is there some sort of like dream item you're like, ooh, I really want to someday do this?
Can I give you like top 3? Because I have many. I was like, I have so many that I'll give you top 3. So one of the ones that I really want to do is, or like a fun bucket list, is to like volunteer to elephant sanctuary, because I love elephants, and they are so playful that I feel like it would help me tap into playing in a different sense. Because now I'm like playing with, sorry, go ahead.
Do you know, I was just going to jump in with a joke, but do you know why elephants are so important?
Why?
Because everything else is irrelevant. Okay. What was number 2 on your list?
Oh my gosh, I cannot. That was great. I'm gonna like remember all of these. Let's see. Another one would be to like, okay, don't laugh, but I definitely want to like sail the seas, like just like explore and just like go and just visit whatever, and kind of just let that happen, and just live on the ocean for a little bit, and just see how it feels to just like not be on land, and just totally switch my environment and just hop islands or something like that. Reset. So that'd be fun. Let's see. A third one, there's so many. I'm trying to narrow it down. I feel like it's all under the guise of exploration and just wanting to explore, new environments and, outside. Okay, I guess the third one would be the same thing for elephants, but with dolphins.
Ooh, okay. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm definitely drawn to dolphins just because their playfulness and spirit and stuff. And I think it would be really fun to explore that more too. I'm with you on that one. All right. Now, are you ready to play a game?
Yes, let's play. I'm excited.
All right. Spinning our wheel, O games. There are 10 games that it could land on. And you got Two Truths and a Lie. Two Truths and a Lie is the classic game where you say 2 fun facts about yourself and then one that is made up, and we'll try and guess the one that is made up. Do you want to go first or second?
I'll go second.
All right. Then my 3 are: I have driven every car I've owned to over 100,000 miles. I have never had a speeding ticket. Or I have driven over 11 hours straight in one day.
Ooh.
Which
okay.
one is the lie?
Okay, I think the lie is that you've never gotten a speeding ticket.
There you go. You got it. It's dangerously close. I think I've only had like 1 or 2. I was trying to remember, but it's definitely been over a decade on that for sure. You won. All right. Now it's your turn. Share 2 truths and a lie.
Okay. Let me see. I've lived in Brazil. I love going ziplining. And I've spent 72 hours alone in the forest.
Ooh, these are hard. I think all of these sound plausible for you, but I'm going to say the lie is you've lived in Brazil. That didn't come up yet, or I haven't seen that yet. How'd I do?
I actually have never gone ziplining.
Ziplining, that was going to be my next thing. Are you afraid of heights or anything, or is that something you still want to do?
I'm afraid of heights, but I do want to go ziplining because I feel like it's a soft step in conquering that fear.
I agree. I also am somebody that I'm afraid of falling. I'm not necessarily afraid of heights. I like being up somewhere and things. So I think I would enjoy ziplining more. And because I enjoy like big slides and roller coasters and stuff like that where I'm tied in. But I don't think I will ever skydive or free jump or any of that crazy stuff that people do. That's just not safe enough. All right, we're on the same page, but you won. So the podcast is yours. Anything we can do to help you or you help us, or any last messages, good questions I forgot you to ask you that you want to share with the audience?
No, I think, I enjoyed talking with you and, talking about play and diving into that a little bit more. So, I mean, my only quick comment is to just check out the website, follow me on Instagram at Curious Sunshine. Reach out if you want more holistic play and playful wellness. I offer a lot of things for folks to dive into if, you just want to incorporate more play. And my final take, because I can't just leave without giving, yourself and listeners a to-do item. So my to-do item, an invitation for everyone listening, is to take yourself on a play date. Figure out what that means for you and schedule it in your calendar like you would a meeting or a doctor's appointment, and stick to it and go do something fun.
I love it. That is a great place to wrap up on. Again, check out the book, Black and Color Remix, for fun puzzles and games. CuriousSunshine.com is the website where you can find Sarah Iverson. And for more on Playful Humans, there's Playfulness quizzes on the website. Find out your playful personality, how burnt out you are. Are you medium rare? Are you medium well? Are you totally burnt? Find out on the website, playfulhumans.com/quiz. Share this episode with somebody that you think needs to hear it, and go out there and play, everybody. Go have some fun, right?
Don't wait for tomorrow. Live for today. Keep on chasing the sunshine.
did it. You made it to the end. But don't worry, there are plenty of more videos where that came from. Just click subscribe to Playful Humans to get notified about our future videos. Now, what are you still doing here? Go play.